Hi guys, my name's Kayla and I'm owner and head trainer of Everywhere Dog. So one of the questions that we get asked a lot is why do we use both prong collars and e-collars for training dogs? So a lot of people are under the impression that if you are using the e-collar correctly, you won't need a prong collar to teach it. And we actually have found that the opposite is true. So a prong collar is a really awesome tool. If you're not familiar with it, I suggest that you go read our blog posts and watch our videos about it, because it is one of the few tools out there. It's really one of the only tools out there that you can actually give directional guidance to your dog with. So if you are asking your dog to heel, for example, and they are walking really far out to the left and you need them close to you, you can pull them inward. If you need them to move forward, you can push them forward. If you need to pull them back, you can pull them back. So it gives you the ability to give actual directional guidance. When you're teaching it down, you can flip the collar upside down and draw the collar downwards to show them, hey, the pressure is pulling you this way. And as soon as you go into that position, all the pressure is released. And it's a really cool tool because dogs really understand it. They get what it means, and it makes learning really simple for them, which is the key in training a dog, is making it so that the dog understands exactly what you're asking without having to go through much time and effort and stress on the dog. So we love to use the prong collar for that reason. So the prong collar is awesome for teaching behaviors, for shaping behaviors, like I said, all the way from the heel to a recall, to a down, to a sit, to place, everything across the board. We always start with prong collars because they're just that awesome. But prong collars do have their limitations. In order for a prong collar to work, it needs to be attached to a leash or a training tab, and most people don't want their dog attached to a leash or a training tab at all times. Sometimes it's just not practical. Sometimes it's annoying if you live in a small house or you live in a house with a lot of stuff. A leash gets stuck on things. It gets wrapped around table legs, or if you've got a cat that's constantly chasing it like I do. Lulu loves a dog with a leash and will chase them all around. So there's reasons why a leash is not always optimal to have dragging around everywhere. And then a prong collar is not always optimal to have on. So typically with my clients, what I do is we start off, you wear the leash in the house for a couple weeks so the dog, you don't miss any training opportunities. The prong collar is always on, when it's safe to do so, when the dog's supervised, of course not in the crate, of course not when they're left home by themselves. But whenever the dog's supervised, they have the leash and the prong on, just so that you never miss a training opportunity. Anything that happens, whether it's the dog jumps up on you or you tell them place and they break, you can just go ahead and direct them right back to what you need them to do. Like I said, if they jump, tiny little pop, tell them off, and it's all simple from there. So we use the prong collar to teach these behaviors, to reinforce these behaviors, to shape them, to really help the dog understand this is exactly what we're asking, this is exactly what we need you to do. So that's all well and good, but what happens when it's time to lose the prong? A lot of dogs are great, especially in the house. A lot of dogs really do really well once they lose the prong, because at that point they don't need it anymore, which is why they're losing it. So why throw in the e-collar? The e-collar is the easiest way, it's the most awesome way, most versatile way to reinforce training. So great, your dog knows how to sit. That's fantastic. When you tell your dog to sit, do they sit? Or do you have to walk over to them, put a treat over their head, or pull up on their collar, or tap their butts and tell them to sit? So your dog understands what sit means, but most dogs will give you a look like, what are you gonna do about it? And that's where the e-collar really comes in handy, because you can use low-level stimulation and tap and say, sit, and you hold it down. Again, super low levels until they sit. They sit and you release. So it's the same idea of pressure and release as we're using with the prong collar, but now you're not on top of your dog. You can be across the room. one thing that I deal with a lot is fence fighting. So you have a dog that's outside and he's jumping on the fence, or going ballistic at the back fence to the back neighbor's dog who's also out there. Yeah, you could go outside and you could have the dog on leash, or you could go outside and physically restrain the dog, pull it away from the fence. But what's even more effective than that is just right on the button. The dog says, someone's trying to communicate with me, and they get off the fence. Once they get off the fence, they get a reward, and they realize that good things don't happen at the fence, good things happen away from the fence. So guess what? I'm not gonna go on the fence anymore. So the e-collar helps to reinforce what is taught with the prong collar. Now, just like the prong collar, for most dogs, not for every dog, not for every situation, for most dogs, they don't need to wear it forever, especially not in the house. So the majority of dogs that I work with have their e-collars on when they're outside, when they're going on walks, whenever they're off leash outdoors. It just makes sense. Even if your dog is great off leash, and you trust them, there's always the possibility of that deer running by that's a lot more exciting than you are, or the unexpected car on the road that you need to call them off of. Whatever the situation is, having a great e-collar recall, having a great e-collar heel can save your dog's life, and it can just make life a whole lot easier. So it's great in those situations when you're off leash. So most of my clients, by the end of training, are using their e-collars either on off leash situations, or in really high distraction or high excitement situations. So in my house, many of you have seen Lainey, my boxer, my sweet little girl who I love so much, who is the inspiration behind my business, and my training philosophy. So with her, she gets very excited when people come over. Yes, she can hold a place. Yes, she's really good and listens really well, but people coming into the house, especially if it's people that she knows, is like one of the best things that's ever happened to her. It's so exciting. There's no amount of food, no amount of toys, no delicious bone that is more rewarding to her than seeing people that she knows or seeing people that are excited to see her. She goes crazy. So when I'm having visitors in the house, I put her on place ahead of time. I have her e-collar on, and when she gets even like a little bit excited, because I know how to read her, when she gets to that level, I tap her, tell her off, and she calms down. And we can use those levels and calm her. And then once she's settled, and I mean like settled, then I let her off. Then she greets. There is no jumping. There is no whining. There is no, annoying people, being pushy, all the nudging, like pet me, none of that stuff. She's completely calm. So that's really the only situation that I use my e-collar with her, except for, either when working with client dogs, because you can never be too careful, or doing off-leash work. So that's really most dogs at the end of their training. That's how it works. You use it when you need it, but most of the times you won't need it, because instead of the dog understanding that the collar means rules or the remote means, mom's serious, they start to learn that this is the new normal. Mom asks me to sit. If I don't sit, pressure goes on. When I sit, pressure goes off. And this happens every single time. So the consistency and the ease of use of the e-collar makes it an awesome way to maintain the training that you've taught your dog, either with, positive reinforcement or prong collar training. Again, we love the prong collar training, because not only does it speed up the process for the dog, but it's also like super clear communication for the dog, which you really can't beat. But we love the e-collar as a backup, as a motivator, as, something to help them, to work them through distractions, or, again, if you have a fearful or anxious dog, work them through that anxiety, help relax them, help bring them down from, level 10, bring them down to a 0, bring them down to 1, where they can see clearly, where they can make good decisions, instead of being in that high anxiety state of mind where they just make mistakes, they just make bad choices because they can't focus on doing the right thing, on doing what they should do because life is so stressful. So we use the e-collar to help bring that down. So yeah, you can use each tool by themselves and never introduce the other one. Totally possible. But this is the way that we have found is really, really quick for our clients. And it's easy for our human clients to replicate, and it just works really well. It works really well for our dogs, and that's why we do it, because aside from everything else, our clients are our reputation, and at the end of the day, what's important is that our clients are happy and that the training works. And you know, that's what we're here for. We want to help you, and we want to deliver you the best solution that works all the time for you and your dog and your situation. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or to fill out a contact form and reach out to us, and we're happy to answer anything that you have. Have an awesome day, guys, and thanks for watching.